Hey guys, we have to interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast to put on our carpentry belts today. This is not what I was thinking I'd be doing, but this is what I'm doing. So I've been asked to help, which basically means, would you do the flooring in our bedroom? So there it is. So yeah, I'm putting in flooring here, fun stuff. So I still got a long ways to go. I'll be back out working on the Falcon as soon as I get this done. Here we are playing around with this. Isn't this just lovely? Just a little windstorm, and this one ghetto garage has just played havoc. So, yet another day from doing what I wanted to do, which is make this video for you guys. I'm out here trying to put all this back into order. The ghetto garage I ain't coming back. Anyway, show you when it's all cleaned up. This old ghetto garage, which is now going to be just that wide. I figured save some of it. The legs all twisted off and they're all bent there. Anyway, yeah, it's just going to be a narrow guy, just enough to keep the rain off of stuff that's left here. A lot of this has got to go. It's back together. Dang wind. You know, as I was laying there, just woke up, and I was living in a downstairs basement, and kind of looked up out the window, and I swear I saw the face of Jesus staring down at me, and totally changed my life from that point in time. But you know, this car, it ain't special. I mean, there's nothing really special about it. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff to it, but this car came about in my life at a time where I really needed an escape from the crap I was going through at work. And I mean, the last 10 years, I was right at the very start of the chaos I was about to go through when I decided to buy this car. Just needed to get my head out of the mess I was in. I may tell this story over on my second channel. It's way too deep. I don't know exactly how I will explain it. Anywho, I did buy this Ranchero, as you'll see here, and it's parts car. And the two cars were over on the other side of the Puget Sound, where we either have to drive 100 miles around or take a ferry and pay $100. I guess it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other as far as the expense. But in my Ultimate Wisdom, the Rainier chapter of the Falcon Club of America, the few of us that could, we hightailed it over to Squim, which was where this was at. Steve's house. Steve was the guy I bought the Ranchero from, and the other Ranchero. But we decided to go over there as a club and pick up this one and part out the other one, so I didn't have to haul all of those pieces over to my house in Linwood over a ferry over 100 miles. So yeah, that sounded good at the time. We all showed up in Squim and we cut up the other car. I mean, we had a great time cutting that other car up. Made a huge pile out of it. We kept some of the parts kind of intact so that they could be reused again, but for the most part, they just got cut up and put in a big pile until what time I was going to need them, if I was going to need them. I mean, I didn't know. I did kind of a cursory inspection of both cars, but clearly my brain farted. I can't think of a better way to describe it because I knew better. It just clearly shows where my brain was at during that time in my life. But anyway, we went over there, cut that car up. We piled it full of stuff, and me and Kenny in the club, we rode this one back, and it was making some noises. It was making some big noises. But we made it, and I got things situated at my house to pull it in, and I had my buddy Gene, who helped me a lot. You'll see Gene in a lot of these pictures. He came over and we pulled it into the garage, as you're seeing here, and proceeded to start taking it apart. I mean, I wanted to kind of go through it. I mean, that's just my nature. Is like, I can't leave well enough alone. Sure, it drove, but it drove harsh enough that I needed to kind of get into it and see what was in the meat and potatoes of this car. So I pull it into the garage, and I was just gonna pull, as I do, I kind of pull it all apart, put it back together, fix what I can fix, and repair and put it back together. I wanted to go through the wiring. I know these Falcons are really, they have no fuse off the battery to the rest of the car. One of the cars I took apart, in fact, had gotten hit on the front, and it smashed the entire wiring harness. So I wanted to go through the wiring. I wanted to see what kind of damage
15 minutes later.
So I kind of got my ducks in a row and pulled it in the garage. I was going to probably spend a couple of months on it. I kind of convinced myself, a couple of months, I can get this done. As I pulled it apart, pulled the grill off, pulled the fenders off, started looking into it, dug into it, and probably, 15 minutes to a half an hour into working on this car, I came to the ultimate conclusion that I cut up the wrong car. The car that we parted out over in Squim to save me the hassle of towing it over here is the car I should have probably built. And I can't remember, honestly, if there was a title issue or if, I can't remember. But that said, this car was a basket case. I mean, it was so bad. Pulled the fenders off. Underneath the fenders, the cowl is the part that goes between the engine bay and the windshield. It's the part with the vent. That area, stuff gets into it and just sits there. There's no access plate to remove that panel so that you can clean it out. So it's just stuff sits in there. Ford didn't care how long the car lasted. In fact, they pretty much hoped it lasted maybe 10 years and then you come in to buy a new one. The idea
Hey, I see you, squirrel!
I want to clarify something that I said last time. I listened to myself, and I'll listen to this one a little differently than I did before. It was my first video, and I heard myself say something when I listened to it back. Not watched it back, because I watched it back many times when I edited it. But when I just listened to it, my wife played it, we were driving, I was hearing myself. I was like, oh my God, I am pretty repetitive. I said the same thing about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times over and over. But one of the things I heard, don't want to get too off track here, but I made a comment about bureaucracy and the car industry, and I kind of misspoke. I mean, there is some knee-jerk bureaucracy in the car industry. When cars were, burning leaded fuel, and, the population was growing, and certain parts of the country where population was just crazy, mostly in California. I think they started this. California emissions, everybody's heard of California emissions. I mean, back in the early 60s, they started making changes. 66 was pretty much the initial year for the big changes that took place. They started making changes to try to improve the pollution output of cars, and that cascaded into everything. And I don't care who you are. Anybody that says that the smog that we were dealing with back in the 60s, which I was 6 years old in 66, mind you, but I saw pictures, and anybody that lived in any of the big cities, I mean, I lived outside of Sacramento, and, we had smog in Sacramento, but, LA County, any valley area, I'm sure up here in Seattle where I'm at now, it was probably pretty similar. They polluted a lot. So, they started doing regulations to improve the pollution output of cars. Exhaust gas recirculation, pumping air into the exhaust to reburn fuel. I think at some point in time, it became more of a knee-jerk thing. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this, is that knee-jerk politics that doesn't really analyze what the heck is going on isn't good politics. Today, I think a lot of what people are upset about is that, there are regulations that I think are starting to go a bit too far. I mean, the old car culture, people with old cars that's not a very big. And for places to start regulating what is happening with a car that is 60 years old, that is being kept alive for a car show here or there, that isn't really being daily driven anymore, and to make regulations even more stringent, or even taking away not being able to work on your own car, that's starting to get introduced. And that's crazy. I mean, I've been trying to help a guy down in California who can't even go and buy parts for his car. I mean, it's just impossible. They don't let them buy the parts for their car. In that respect, without going on to this too much further, to me, that's knee-jerk politics. That is just trying to make a problem that isn't a problem. And that happens too much. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to say about that. I mean, I kind of misspoke, or I didn't elaborate on what I said before. So I wanted to clear that. So anyway, back to this. So now what was I going to do? I was sort of kind of committed. Should have been committed, maybe. But I knew that I had the parts. I knew that I had the skills. And I knew that I could fix it. But my gosh, it was bad. The cow peeling, they were cut. And they basically peeled them like a can, probably to clean it out at some point in time. And then they just kind of closed it up and smeared it with some silicone or something. But it's so rusted that I kind of concluded that, okay, cow's got to get replaced. I found that there was some damage here on this quarter that had been repaired poorly, but I didn't realize how bad that was. And I showed you last week, or the last video, of how I kind of had to put a bar in there and stretch it apart, which I fixed it, but I didn't catch it then. You'll see me talk about that later on. I mean, this is going to be a multi-part video, so how far I'll get here, I don't know. This is already probably going too long. The cowl had to get broken into, the floor was shot, the hinges across have been replaced. Everything about 12 inches down from the hinges all the way to the back shocks got replaced, which you'll see pictures of. But it was the needed distraction. And I wanted to do it on a budget. You know, everything that I was doing, I mean, I bought the 2 cars and had access to a 3rd car from Steve over in Squim. I got it all for, I think, $1,000. It had a 6-cylinder in it, it had a 4-speed in it, it had the original 7 1/4 rear end. So, I mean, it wasn't a special car. It was painted, and that was probably the thing that kind of tweaked my brain. It had a decent paint job on it, fairly decent. Clearly, they just sandblasted the thing, painted it, and they didn't try to clear any of the sand out of it. I mean, oh my gosh, it was so bad. I just decided at that point in time, it's coming completely apart. Everything I'm going to actually describe here is in written form with, I think it's 39 pages of comments and pictures for the time and period, well, up until today. I mean, I still post on that same thread for what I've been doing to this over the years. This has been very difficult for me to come up with a way of describing, because I still got stuff I need to do to it. I got the hood over there. I'm waiting for some rust treatment to deal with a little bit of the battery corrosion that was on it and get it installed. But I still got to work on it and try to describe what I'm doing for my benefit. Again, if you watch this, I appreciate it. But the goal here is really to put this out. So maybe as I get older, if my brain starts to go away, I mean, it happened to my grandma, it happened to my mom, it could happen to me, who knows. I'll be able to play these back. My family can put it on and I can watch myself, and maybe it'll spark memories. It'll keep my brain alive. I don't know. It's going to help me keep my brain alive to tell the story again, or it'll bring back bad memories. I don't know which. Anyway, I think that's where we'll end this video. I mean, you'll see it to the point of being disassembled and ready to be built, and we'll start building it again next time. So thanks for this, and I appreciate you. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe and see what I do to this thing, how I tell the story, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to give you notifications when I put out the next video. Hopefully the next video won't take so long. This has been a crazy couple of weeks with other projects I had to do and windstorm stuff, and as you probably saw. We'll leave it at that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. I mean, it helps at least tell other people that the video's out there, YouTube's algorithm and all that stuff. So, alrighty, until next time, see ya.